Music, dance, theater. It's time to take a seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez. Hear from performers, producers, presenters, and creators who enrich our lives in the performing arts. Who's on stage? Here is Tom Alvarez to introduce you.
Hello, and welcome to On the Aisle with me, Tom Alvarez. My guest on today's episode is Emmy Award-winning Patty Spitler, former TV reporter and anchor, current host and producer of 2 syndicated television programs, and Indiana Broadcasting Hall of Fame inductee. Join me now as I go on the aisle in my conversation with Patty.
Mochi Health is here to help you start your weight loss journey with caring, personalized support. Meet one-on-one with board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians who truly listen and understand your unique needs. Eligible patients can access affordable GLP-1 medications delivered right to their door each month. No insurance? No problem. Mochi Health accepts FSA and HSA, making care accessible and affordable. And with 24/7 customer service, you'll never feel alone on your path to better health. Get started with Mochi Health today. Take the free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 at checkout for $40 off your first month of membership. That's joinmochi.com with promo code AUDIO40.
Welcome, Patty Spitler, my longtime friend and colleague. I'm glad that we finally made this happen. How are you today?
Finally. Well, that's a loaded question. I'm fine for my age, but I just had, as I don't hide it, knee replacement surgery on my right leg, and at 71, it was bone on bone, and they said you need to have it done, so I'm recuperating now. Pain, people say, oh, it's fast. Oh, no, it's not fast. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And then I have pain pills. I can't drive. My friend Rita is taking me all these places. And next week, I thought I start physical therapy in a location. So if you're thinking of doing this, that's why I'm telling you this. That's why I don't hide it. Realize what you're getting in for. It's 4 to 6 weeks of rehab. And even then, it's not done. It's not easy, but 9 out of 10 people tell me it's going to be wonderful, and I'll be one of the Rockettes afterwards. So there you go.
Well, this is no different than what you've always done. I'm talking about social media, at least. You're very active on social media. I mean, you're so good at it because it's part of the job, right? To promote yourself. But you do it in a way that's not self-serving, and you do it as a journalist. The way you've always shared your life, you don't, quote, overshare. What you do, though, is you are relatable. That's why people love you so much. And this is just like you did when you had your ear implant.
And breast surgery 2 years ago. I had breast cancer. Here's one of the reasons I do it. And yes, as you say, thank you. Number one is I'd like to help other people who may be afraid to do it. Exactly. A lot of people don't want to talk about when there's something going on. Totally understand that. That is your choice. My choice is to do it because if I go in somewhere or I go to the hospital, I go to the doctor's office, people go, hey, did you see Patty Spitler was in blah. And then there's rumors, and they may not be right. Well, you know what? I'll set it right. Here's what's going on. Can't talk behind my back because I've already thrown it out there. So.
Well, you control your narrative.
Good point. Yep.
Yeah. I wish more people would do that, be a little more direct, about their lives. And especially if it's something that it can help other people. And that's the thing that I think people respect about you.
It's good to get a little respect somewhere, I guess. I was astounded to see the hundreds of people who have had surgery on their hip, on their knee, on their shoulder done. I had no idea it was as prevalent as it is. So again, I'm not alone, but by opening
Yeah.
up, I hope it helps more people.
Think about, Patty, we are the boomer generation, and there are like millions and millions of us around the world. So the surgeons are making a fortune off of us in the hospitals. And I mean, especially the surgeons who do this kind of surgery. I mean, I don't know how they keep up. Did you have to schedule yours like a year in advance?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And my guy, Dr. Pomeroy, hi Dr. Pomeroy, Ortho Indy, and I think he had 5 like that day. I mean, it
Ortho
just,
Indy, yeah.
woo! And it's not just Ortho Indy. Most of the hospitals are doing it now too. So, you
Yeah.
know, I'm not sorry I did it, but again, just warning you when people say, "Oh, and the pain will be," no, the pain. I'm still in some pain, and you're on pain pills. And I'll tell you, when you cannot drive.
Oh,
Oh, I think I'll just go down to this. No, I'll go. No. So you're dependent, and I live alone. Now I have wonderful friends, and Rita, my friend, who's very, very good. Used to work for Indy Star.
let's give Rita Rose a shout out. I mean,
Hi, Rita. She's down with the cats helping me right now because I need someone to feed the animals, the cats and the dog, and feed the squirrels. So she's been very nice. She used to work for the Indy Star for 43 years, so this gives her something to do and have fun too.
she was a film reviewer, among other things that she wrote about, and I really miss her analysis. She was really one of the best.
I know. Well, I always say that's when the paper was a real paper. Now it's online. It's things change.
Yeah, and she also co-authored or helped you on your book. And let's talk about that. So the book that you wrote, the title, you have so many fans, and I'm sure many of them have read the book or know about the book. But for those who haven't, its shelf life is forever. I mean, that story that you tell about your life, which is so well written, and you're one of those writers, and Rita, of course, being your close friend, the fact that it sounded like your voice was loud.
Well, Rita was instigated this. How this all started was during COVID. So I started cleaning out pictures in my basement, and Rita would come and help me. I got boxes and boxes, and we'd see this. Oh, here's a picture with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and here I am here, and here's my mother, and I didn't even know where all this stuff was. She goes, you need to write a book. And I said, I don't know. I've never written a book. So what I did was, since she's the writer and very good, that's a talent. I'm not as controlled as that. Anyway, so I would tell her stories, and she'd old-fashioned way take down notes, and then she'd write it down into a chapter or so, or a few paragraphs, whatever she did, and she'd send it to me. And then I would tell her and say, okay, take that out or put that in. She had me, as she said, patty it up. So that's how it came across as my voice. It really was my voice, but she tweaked it in order to make it be me.
Classic editor. Yeah. So the title of the book?
The Dog Who Saved My Life.
Yes. And there's a whole story around that.
I know.
With so many other anecdotes. And I mean, it's really quite interesting. It was a really good read. And of course, all the pictures.
And all the pictures I didn't put in, I wish I'd put some more in.
There's a lot of work to chase down. Did you have to, I mean, because the copyright is so strict, the laws and all that, did you have to track down a lot of that too?
The pictures we put in were taken by publicity people. So you're allowed to do that. I made sure I had a couple of stories that probably would have gotten attention, maybe sold some more books, but I didn't want to be nasty to anybody. So if I had a story that was a little, a little bit, I said, let's leave it out. It's not worth it. Number one, I don't want to get sued because of that by the person if they're still alive. And number two, it's just not the tone. I'm one of those, and I realize now that it's all different now. Everybody's offended and don't do this and don't do that, and I'm suing you. I don't do that. Okay. We didn't get along, something happened, I'll smile and move on, and you go on. That's what you do. I don't want to get back at you and do it's selfishly, it upsets me, so it's better if I just say thank you and move
In other
on.
words, you're not a vindictive person.
Well, I guess you could say that. It's just not healthy for me. I'm not I don't like to keep grudges. I like to, we all have things that we may be not so happy about, and we also have good things, hopefully. And also, when I was interviewing, I was traveling every weekend, to interview the stars, as you know. New York, LA mostly, but traveled all over the world. So that was my Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, get back Sunday night, Monday, go back on the air. I did not take vacation time for that. So I worked 7 days a week for 20 years until the hearing gave out. That's the other story. But anyway, you have to realize that the people that you're talking to, which they don't do anymore because there's Zoom, so they don't do it in person. And they would spend all this money to fly you in, but the person that you're talking to, maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they didn't feel like doing it. Maybe there's something, there may be other reasons that you don't know, something that went on behind the scenes or before they were talking to you where things didn't work out very well. So I take that as it is and then, leave after a few minutes rather than stay there for 15 minutes. But there are some wonderful people I met too. Robin Williams was, and I'm not alone in that, everybody who met him, he was the most, and as you know, generally comedians are not always that generous. He was just the nicest, most adorable. He was even more fun in person than he was on camera, if that's possible. Just a very generous guy. And as you know, he took his own life. He had that Lewy dementia syndrome. And I realized the last time I talked to him, he was in a animated thing, Penguins, a penguin movie. And I said, what's it like? He was getting up there then, early 60s. I said, what's it like, to have all this background? Look at you're a legend. And he goes, I don't care about that. He goes, I want to do things now. So he realized that his popularity, the age, that the things were slipping a little bit, or at least going in another direction that I don't think he wanted to go in. He wanted to be at the top of the game. So looking back now at that interview, I'm like, wow, I see what he was saying there. And then about a year later, he was gone. So it's too bad.
You and I share a lot in common. We've talked about it. I want to talk about that for our listeners because, there are a lot of us, as I said before, a lot of us boomers out there, and we're kids of the 60s. In many ways, we're still making waves. And there are a lot of us who've retired, who've chosen to go to Florida, play golf, sit in a chair outside their porches and whatever, watch the world go by. But you and I have often talked about as long as we can work, we want to work. And that we talk about that we enjoy being relevant. And, that's nothing about, for me at least, I still want to contribute and I still have something to say.
Yes, you do.
That's what it's all about. I have something to say. And so don't discount me and leave me out in the pasture because I'm not ready. And I don't, you don't make that decision for me. I make the decision.
Yeah. Well, and I'm lucky again, it's been 50 years. I started in 1972 in college on the radio station, WVUD, Voice of the University of Dayton. And did a lot of radio 10 years after that, after I graduated, and then got into TV and started in Indianapolis in 1982 with Dick Wolfsey on Indianapolis Afternoon. I thought I'll be in Indianapolis maybe 6 months, and here it is, 42 years, 43 years. So I'm lucky I get to do that. I didn't have to just read the news, not that there's anything wrong with that, and I didn't have to do, shootings, and I could do it if I had to, but luckily I got into entertainment. In college, I was a psychology major / theater major. I got into theater in high school and college. I was the big girl with the deep voice, so I got all those older parts. And so it all kind of came together, and I got to do entertainment, and it caught on. Again, it's a big commitment. I mean, you're traveling a lot, but you get to interview, and how lucky was I? And again, they don't do that anymore. They do Zoom. You want to talk to somebody in LA, and it costs money.
And another thing that we share in common is, and the reason I'm having you on the show is because, the theme of this program, my mission is to cover the performing arts. And it's not a stretch for me to have broadcasters on because many of us have backgrounds in the theater. We started, it was
Yeah.
But we learned that we had a voice, and
Yes.
we learned that, we loved attention. And well, it's okay. Why not?
Yeah.
If you have something to say and people enjoy what you have to say, then I mean, that's part of the gift, I believe,
Yeah. Yeah.
talent. But also broadcasters, if it weren't for broadcasters, we wouldn't have the kind of support that the arts need, publicity. The arts need publicity, and they can't afford to hire people to go out and get publicity. So they have to depend on the kindness and goodness of people like you over the years.
I do movie reviews now, as you know, on Lifestyle Live, which you are on.
Yes.
And I do it on Fridays. You're on Thursdays with the theater, and I'm Fridays. I haven't done it. This will be 3 weeks now because of my leg. But I used to do more movies. There's so many movies out right now. You can have 15 movies on a weekend, on a week. I mean, we used to have 2 or 3, and you'd go to the theater. And now there's Fandango and Netflix, and they're shot with their iPhone so I've cut back on how much I do because I also have 2 other shows, Great Day TV, which is positive people, positive stories, and Positive Pets for Pet Pals TV. And by the way, in May of this year, we started in 2009 for Pet Pals, so that will be 16 years for independent programming. So in that case, I'm my own boss. I like that. I like coming up. I know how to find a good story, and hopefully helps that way. And then Boomer TV, which became Great Day TV, things happened, and it opened up for a good reason. So that will be celebrating 10 years. Again, for independent programming, that's pretty unusual. And why? I don't get paid for anything that I do. I did some real estate investment. I have Social Security now. I had disability because of my hearing loss, Meniere's disease. And now I get a pension. So it's not a lot, but it's enough to get by. And I would prefer to have my own, be in charge of myself rather than be beholden for someone telling me what to do at this stage in the game. So it works out fine.
How many markets are you in? Because I know that you're syndicated. How many markets for those programs now?
Pet Pals, I think, is 130 markets. We're all over the country now. And Jason Heath gets credit for that. He contacted them. We're on all. And again, it's not just CBS, NBC. There's the YTV. There's all kinds of TV out there. So anyway, we're all over the country. We're also streaming live. You can go see petpalstv.com to see the show, and go to greatdaytv.com and you can see the show. The shows stream all the time, as well as live on wishtv.com Saturday morning when they're airing. So there's the other thing. Remember when you used to have to turn in a show and you want to see All in the Family? Okay, you had to watch at 7:30 on Thursday night, or that was it. You're done. Yeah, now you can see it later or another time. But if you missed it, you missed it. Maybe they do a summer rerun, but if you missed it, that was it.
Yeah, so again, another thing that you and I share in common is our love of animals. And I have this theory that it's a natural affinity. People who love art usually love animals as well, because it takes a certain kind of personality and attitude for people who love both of those things. They love beauty. They love the unconditional love that comes with animals and their innocence and all of that. And
what you give is what you get. Not always that way with people, but with animals it is.
And I've always thought both are very spiritual exercises. They really are, living with animals and learning how to communicate with them in silence, Not everybody understands and appreciates that. Do you agree?
What I've found, well, first off, if someone says, oh, it's just a dog, well, they're probably not my friend anyway. I have had animals around. When I was growing up, I grew up with a dog named Duke, and my mom and dad loved, I think, Duke more than me. I wish I could find the picture of them feeding Duke a milk bone with me sitting up in the chair to feed Duke. So I've always been around animals. And Indian Lake, Ohio, my parents, Dayton, Ohio, we went for the weekends and summers in Indian Lake, Ohio, went fishing. I'd catch the fish and let it go. So, and here's the other thing from doing Pet Pals TV, I've learned a lot. And I'm not an expert, but I try to learn from an expert and then I can pass it on. For instance, when we started, I didn't know you shouldn't buy a puppy from a pet shop. I didn't know that. Now I know. And I've seen some pictures of those pet mills that are it's just awful. It's just awful. So don't buy your animal from a pet shop. Responsible breeder if you can. Of course, there's rescues out there. What's a responsible breeder? You get to see the mom dog, you get to see where the dog was born, and you get full health records. Because I've had 2 Bernese Mountain Dogs now. They rarely end up in shelters and rescues anyway. But so I got a responsible breeder, and that's what you need to find out. If you, for instance, if you got something wrong and you take them back to the shelter, they're going to put them down. I mean, yeah.
Let's give a shout out to Louie and Stewie, your 2.
Oh yeah, Louis. I just again,
I've become close to all your animals because, I've been on Lifestyle Live, as you said, for 11 years. And the green room, I spent time with both of them. And on Facebook, you know how the algorithm keeps, they want you engaged, so they keep sending you pictures of things. And I have so many pictures that show up of me in the green room hugging Louie, and then Stewie, dog Mabel, and your
Mabel loved you too. It was so cute. Well, what happened because again, Meniere's disease, I couldn't hear. It's in the book. When fatal fire sounds like flat tire, it's time to get out of the news. They tell you in your ear you have an IFB, and it tells you what the producer's saying you should do. You've got to get it right the first time. And I realized things were going down. So I quit December 24th of 2004. Oh gosh, that long ago. And I thought, well, what'll I do? So I had time. I've always had cats when I was traveling a lot. I'd have people come in and look after them and feed them and make sure they're okay. When you have a dog, you need to be home sometime. They got to take them out for a walk. They can't poop in the house, So I thought, now's the time to get a dog. Even though I'd grown up with my dad's dogs, Louis was my first dog. I thought I wanted, and my Duke was back in the 50s, 60s, early 70s, collies were everywhere. So we had a collie mix is what I grew up with. And I thought, well, I want a collie. And then I started looking, and I found the Bernese Mountain Dog, looked into what the breed was, met a couple people who had them. That's another good thing to do, meet someone who has them, because all the breeds are different. Yes, they have inherited characteristics. I mean, I'm not a border collie girl. Go out and run around. I'm not Jack Russell. Way too smart for me. Need a nice calm dog is good. And I do love them all, but I realize my limits as well. So I got my Louie, and then they came to me and said, here's Jason Heath, said, let's do a pet show. And I thought, well, that'll last about 6 months. And it's been 15 years. So I'm happy. Oh, and also for the book, I need to throw this in there. Even though we charge for the book for, shipping and all that other stuff, Rita has to pay bills for the printing. I don't get any money. Any profits, a portion of the proceeds goes to rescues and shelters.
Patty, where is it available? How can people
go to petpalstv.com. It's up on the websites, or greatdaytv.com, and it's there. Also, if you go to Pet Pals TV there's websites and Great Book pages. At the top, there's a little, little handle there that says it's everywhere on our Great Day TV, Pet Pals TV. You'll find it on all
so now that you have that wide exposure, so I can't imagine, do you get feedback via email, messenger? How do you get feedback?
Oh, well, my page, I have a Patty Spitler and Pets in Remembrance of Louie. That's one of my pages. I have a Patty Spitler page, and of course Pet Pals page and Great Day page, and we have websites including Facebook. All my pages are open. So unless you say something nasty, then I could delete and block you. But I found most people are pretty nice. So, you want to get in touch with me, you do it that way. I'm open.
What kind of feedback do you get generally? What's generally the feedback that you get about Pet Pals? Give me some examples.
Oh, gosh. Well, it's funny. Just the other day, I had someone who said, the problem with the bigger dogs, and especially the breed like Bernese, cancer is pretty prevalent. And someone just lost their Bernese Mountain Dog. And she wrote in and said, I would be open for the love of another Bernese Mountain Dog because when I saw you with Louis years ago. That's why I knew I wanted one. So, that made me feel good. But generally, it's people saying, thank you. Where do I go for a good groomer? What do I look for? And I get a lot of things about, for instance, bird flu is real bad right now. I don't have any answers, but you know him as well. Interviewed Tom Dock from Noah's Animal Hospitals. What should we do? What are some indications that your cats apparently can catch bird flu, and it's killing some of them. So
Really?
again, if I do not know the answer, which I probably don't, I can direct you or send you to someone who is an expert, and we can help that way.
Think about that, though, Patty. What a gift that, since you've been covering animals all these years, how educated you've become, how much you've learned. And you have become an expert in many ways.
I'm not a shelter. I'm not a vet. I'm not a.
Nevertheless,
I try to do the right thing. Let me put
but your knowledge, you should own it, because I believe you should own it because it's wide. You have wide expertise in animal behavior and how to care for animals and all that. I think I'm really impressed with the fact that you've learned what you've learned and you put it to good use and helping people.
Gosh, you're so nice. I have one segment that I came up with that I wanted to do, which was taken off. And Barney Wood, see, I've got some wonderful reporters and people that I know like you who have helped as well. And Barney Wood does the segment now. It's called Know Your Breed. And just last week he did something. Another dog that I grew up with, that was mainly my dad's dog because they're one Pearson dog, Chows. Chow Chow.
Yeah.
There used to be a lot more of them around than there are now. So we do a segment every weekend that's called Know Your Breed. So know if you want to breed, again, know what you're getting.
Another thing that you may or may not know, that I dipped my toes in the water once, and boy, it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life. At one point, I was the head of the advisory committee at Indianapolis Animal Control.
Yeah.
And meetings got really contentious because the animal advocates at that time, when I came on board, they were just really very, 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 very outspoken. That's when the movement just began, and they finally showed up at these meetings and they made demands, as they should have been doing. But I'll tell you, to navigate that passion was one of the toughest things. And you learned about all those people now really are supportive of your efforts, but you know what I'm talking about. They're tough cookies.
Oh, yes, yes. Here's what I've learned again. I've had people say, well, we should go out and you come out with us and we'll protest and stand in front of the pet shop. No, I'm not going to do that. I won't support them, but I'm not going to. I mean, also there could be lawsuits too and all of that. I have to get a lawyer. I believe I always say I won't hurt them, but I won't help them, and let them figure it out. Here's something I found about pet people. God love them, and the people who love. Many of them think their way is the right way and everybody else is wrong, and because of that, it gets very divided. If you don't dress up your dachshund in a tutu and sleep with it in bed at night, you can't adopt my dachshund. Okay, for some people, maybe the dachshund will sleep next to the bed, which maybe should be better. Everybody looks at their pets, not the ant, but their pets differently. And because of that, it divides people into what's right and what's wrong. If you don't think my way, you're wrong.
You'll agree there's a lot of judgmental people out there.
Yeah.
It's still prevalent, more so in the animal community, I think.
It came down to this one day. I was thinking about it. To end up, they said, well, you're going to take the dog home and it'll end up in a cage, for 4 hours a day when you're at work. 4 hours a day in a cage at home is better than 24 hours a day in the shelter. And everybody has a different. Now, I'm not saying chain your dog up outside in the snow. No. But realize that maybe an okay home is better than no home. The other thing that I've heard that I realized, because I had a snow dog, well, if you're cold, your dog's cold. No, not necessarily. It depends on the breed. I had a Bernese Mountain Dog. Switzerland is where they've come from. They both love the cold. They want to go out and sit in the snow. I couldn't get them to come in. That's a different dog. Now, they could come in at any time. I didn't keep them outside, but realize that different pets, dogs, cats, whatever, have different needs and wants. So that's why I say know your breed. For instance, a Chihuahua or a Pit Bull with a little bit of hair, they're not going to like the cold. Now, Stewie and Louie didn't like the sun. It was too hot. I did have their undercoats trimmed too, so that's what I learned from the groomer. But again, know what you're getting. Try to do the best for them. It's funny, I have so many people say, oh, you had a Burmese mountain dog. No, not Burm, that's Burma. I had a Bernese, Bernese. You know, a dog like Stewie would not do well in Burma. Bernese, mountain, snow, that's what they did. They were meant to pull carts full of cheese and kids. So again, I'm still learning, and I love doing it. You're right.
That is something that I get a chance to ask you now for people, because I know a lot of people struggle with this, with pet loss. I wondered at what point after you lost Louie, and how old was he? And Stewie, how old were they?
Louis was 6 weeks shy of 9, and it was cancer. They found a lump under his arm, and then it went pretty fast, I'll say that.
Yeah.
And Stewie, I could see he was failing, but the last 2 weeks it got rough. I mean, he couldn't stand up. At the end, you've got a 100-pound, 120-pound dog that can't stand up. I couldn't take him outside. To feed him, I have to get on the floor with him and feed him. He was 9.5, 9 years and 4 months.
Okay,
and the Swiss have a saying that goes with the Bernese Mountain Dog. And again, if you look up dogs, you can see how long. I mean, Chihuahuas can go on maybe 20 years.
Well, the life expectancy of that
of Bernese,
how long?
Life expectancy. The Swiss have a saying: 1 to 3 young dog, 3 to 6 good dog, 6 to 9 old dog. Okay. After 9, gift from God.
So in the case of the two of them, you went into it with your eyes wide open about the fact that you were only going to have them for this amount of time. Yeah. So at what point did you make a decision? Like a lot of people struggle with this. I did. After I lost my first dog, Sonny, after 14 years. Okay. And then I struggled. Do I want to do this again? I want to get another dog. And I raised the first one from puppy till senior. And so I struggled with that. I thought, you know what? We all have to just live in the moment anyway. This is a matter of, if I get another dog, I'm not going to think in terms of, at the point where he's going to pass on. That's crazy. I'm just going to live in the moment, and I'm going to do it because I miss it. And so I did, and I saw that through. He lived for 14 years too, Billy. And wow. So I had that 30-year window, but after those two, I couldn't do it again. So I got cats, and now my kitty's a whole new experience.
I had a kitty that lasted for 24 years one time, and I got 2 other kitties. Both are rescues. Yeah.
What do you tell people who struggle with that point when they lose a beloved animal and they miss it and they want to do it again? What do you tell them?
First off, everything living, we're all going to die. I mean, whether we live any living thing is going to pass on. But the animals don't know that. I mean, all they know is the love that you give them, and you feed them and you pet them and you kiss them, and that's what they know. So I try to focus on that. Yes, it's difficult. That's another reason I want to get my knee in shape, because I might want another Bernese Mountain Dog. Now that I know the breed,
I knew it.
But I'm not ready yet. And I waited a year after I lost my Louie. And I have rescues too. My Mabel was a rescue. She was
but I love that, because it just confirms for me that you do live in the moment, Yeah, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, Mabel lived, I don't know how old she was when I got her, I think around 5 or so. And then I just got my Harry that you met, and everybody wanted to know. I took him, when I got him, I got him from Grateful Rescue and Sanctuary. And they said he was not abused, but he was neglected. I called him Harry because he didn't have any hair. It was all pink. They didn't take care of him. He had fleas and everything. It hadn't been fixed. So anyway, got him. They said he's probably about 3 years old. 3 to 5, and I took him to the vet, those animal hospitals, and they looked at him because of his teeth, which were bad, and he had cataracts. Said he's probably about 8 years old. Now, we did a DNA test. If you don't know what your rescue is, you can get a DNA test. Blood tests are better than saliva if you can get a blood draw. But that way you can know what mainly the background is of the animal. And Harry is 99.9% Maltese. So why is that important? Why do you care if it's a Maltese or a Chihuahua or a Husky? Because that tells you then sometimes some of the health challenges that breed may have. It can tell you how you can better take care of them, what their needs might be. So knowing the inherited traits of a particular breed can help you to adjust to take care of them. So if you want to do that, fine. And I want to do that because everybody was asking me what he was. And I don't know what he is. And I found out. And he's a sweetie. He really, sometimes when you get a rescue too, you don't know, okay, do they like men? Do they like kids? What scared them? Were they abused before? Harry loves everybody. He loves to go to the station and see Mabel loved everybody too. So I got lucky. I got lucky.
Let's shift back to your career in broadcasting. So, what you and I have both been through a continuum, of technology, number one, or so many things, but just the business itself. How do you view the broadcasting landscape? Comparing it to, when you came into the business, how many years in broadcasting?
50. I started when I was a sophomore in college.
So
and that was that's 1972.
The continuum that I speak of, when I started out the news, we were still doing 60 millimeter film, and then the tape sizes changed. The cameras got big, small. They were big, and then they got small. And then you could do live shots. And so you went through all of that too. How was that for you?
Well, here's what I found is radio's had a lot of challenges. And I know a lot of people in radio, they've been just let go. You know that too. The newspapers changed.
Okay.
I mean, what people are doing, everything's digital and online. I don't want to get the paper at my door. I'll just go online. Well, okay, I don't want to listen to some disc jockey talk. Just give me my song. I'll just punch it up. So that's changed on those landscapes. So we're lucky we got to do it. I'm so lucky I got to do it. For TV, also I've noticed we used to go out and do a story. First off, you had to do it in person. Zoom sometimes. The background, I saw one girl that was being interviewed, a young lady. In the background, her bed wasn't made. What? So I see the convenience, and I know the money's being saved from not going out to do that, but still, in some cases, come on, make the effort to go. The other thing is, we used to have, you watch the news. I remember my parents watch the news 11 o'clock at night. We have to see the weather and the sports and the news. Nobody does that anymore. They flick on whenever they want to flick on, and you can see, here, let me get my news. All right, that's fine. Okay. And that's how a lot of younger people are getting their news. They're not turning on a TV. They may not even have a TV. They have this.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. And then you get people, they want instant news. So you're not finding out the background. Is this true? Isn't true? Yeah. Here, I have to get it because if I don't get it, the other station don't get it. Okay. So here's someone broke into this house. What did they do? I just show it. There's no checking for authority to see if it's right or wrong. It's instant. Sometimes it's right. But you know what? That's where it is right now.
Yeah. I need to jump in here and tell our audience who can't see what you just held up. You held up an iPhone. Think about I can't help but sometimes reflect on that continuum for those of us who grew up with rotary phones, right? Yeah. And then, the iPhone, what that has done to culture, society, and how profoundly that has changed communication. That computer, and now you can't keep people off of it. People have accidents because they're not watching.
Oh, I know.
I mean, do you ever consider just how incredible that?
Well, remember, we make fun of Dick Tracy talking to his phone. Now they do that. Here's the other thing that it's happening now. In fact, in China, they are using these characters instead of real people, in some cases, doing the news. AI, artificial intelligence. These people, they look like real people. If you ask on your computer, say, tell me about Tom Alvarez, they give you the whole list of who you are. So how do we know, for instance, if somebody's writing a paper, a school kid in college told to write a paper, did they write it or did AI write it? I guess we'll see.
There's a possibility that they could get rid of talent on TV and just do AI folks,
Well, if it saves a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's going to go that route. We know how that works too.
Oh, yeah. So
Bottom
I
line.
think you and I should be, first off, the golden years we saw. I'm a golden girl, you're a golden boy. Anyway, and we should be grateful that we had this time, together, and realize that that's just the way life is.
I'll ask you the same question that you asked Robin. So, Patty, whenever I post our picture together, you would not believe the feedback I get from people who just are, you're just so beloved. You really are. And yet at the same time, you poo-poo that. You're humble. If you have to say humble or say the word humility, you're not. You're being dishonest. We know that enough from like the celebrities. Oh, I'm so humbled to receive this award. No, you're not. You want more because it's like, anyway, but having said that, though, you accept it with so much grace, but you do get a lot of it, don't you?
I'm not going to be able to get my head out the door after this. I'm lucky. When I was in high school, you see the book, I was Fatty Patty. I mean, I didn't fit in certain areas. I got into theater. Ooh, I found my voice. So things happen that I'm actually grateful for. And I was, in some cases, you look back, well, I was bullied. Yeah, I was. And in a case, that's maybe not a bad thing. You use that to your advantage. I know a girlfriend of mine who's absolutely gorgeous. And she said she was bullied when she was in high school because she was gorgeous. So we'd all get it. You know what? Yeah. Smile, move on, make the best of what you've got.
Well, my point is that like Robin, you're not interested in your past laurels. You're still working. You're interested in the future, right?
I'm lucky. I love what I do. I hope that comes across because, I mean, even though I'm laid up with my leg right now, I'm still on my phone all the time, setting things up. Oh, got to get back to that. That's the other thing. You can't get away. Remember when you'd go out on a story or assignment and you'd come back to your desk and there'd be a pink slip that said, while you were out?
Yeah.
Now you got this.
Oh,
you
God.
cannot get away from it. So I have several people to call. So again, we're lucky. I hope folks tune in to Pet Pals TV and Great Day TV, and you can go to our websites, and we're everywhere. And I'm very, very grateful.
Well, let's talk about Good Day because that it started out as what did you say?
Oh, it was Boomer TV.
Yeah.
There was a magazine called Boomer Magazine, and she did a story on me, and we said, well, let's do a TV show, and things didn't work out. So we took over the show. I took over the show, and we made a Great Day TV because Boomer TV it had to be like 50 plus, and now we can cover everybody. You don't have to be young, old, whatever. So that worked out well, and she went on to other things, and these things happen. That's fine. And then we became Great Day TV in I think it was 2016. So we were 2 years for Boomer, and then we've been Great Day TV. It worked out fun.
Some of the people that you have spotlighted, people may know. Indie people, at least.
Indie people?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I know Frank Lucille is one of them.
I was going to say, that was the first one I was going to say. Oh, is he nice, generous?
He's one of your biggest fans.
I didn't know that. He's done so much. There's a man and his wife giving back. They've given. And that keeps him going, too. So. Yeah. Gosh, I'm trying to think. I'm sure if I looked it up, somebody who passed just last year, Larry Batson, the animal activist, founder for wild animals, he taught us so much, and he went out to schools and helped kids to understand rather than, oh, look, there's a cougar, let's shoot it. No, let's understand, what it's here for and walk away from it and let it do its thing. Right now, Silly Safaris with Amazon John and Meerkat Mel, they go around to schools too. I think we need to understand more about wildlife so that we can appreciate it rather than let's kill it. Who else? Gosh, I should have written down some notes. But I've been lucky that I've met so many wonderful people.
When can people see that show locally and where?
Great Day TV with Patty Spitler. Now, here's the reason we say with Patty Spitler at the end. There are other Great Day TVs out there, but not with Patty Spitler.
Gotcha.
So when you do the with Patty Spitler, that helps us legally so that it gives us that title. We're on new every Sunday at 10 to 10:30 on Wish TV. And also then Pet Pals TV is on at 10:30 on Wish TV, and also 9:30 on WNDY. And again, go to our website. You can see all the places we are all over the country. I can't remember all of them. So, but Wish TV is my home. That's the other thing. People say, oh, you should go to another channel. This is my home.
So a lot of people, you know how it is with branding, that some people, that's why all of the networks and everybody started putting their logos in the corner of the screen. But, people don't pay attention to that. They don't know what station you work with.
I know.
Back and forth. And so like the branding and all, but, you are clearly, no matter what, people always associate you with WISH.
When I die, you will see on my tombstone, if I had that, I have to figure out. I think I'll put in a plant, become a tree. Anyway, I think it'll say Wish TV. It's my home, and we were family when I was growing up there and working there, and we still are. We
work with some giants. And did you ever, I need to ask you this, did you work with Jane Pauley when she was there?
I know, I met Jane Pauley. No, she left before I got there.
Okay.
She left. But, her legacy was there. And so, no, I did not work with her.
Well, of course, you can't get away without a shout out to Mike Ahern.
Mike, wonderful guy, amazing. Always, what you see is what you get. He was just terrific. He's sort of become reclusive. He doesn't want to be in the spotlight. We did the 70th year reunion for Wish TV, believe it or not. 70 is not a bad age, and he didn't want to talk. So, that's his choice. My choice is to continue to do things. His choice is he's done. So we all wish him the best, but he wants to. I want to be alone. That's fine.
Yeah, and of course, I can't say goodbye without acknowledging the fact that you are in the Indiana Broadcasting Hall of Fame, along with all of the legends across Indiana. So what does that honor mean to you?
Yeah, I got lucky. Again, I've been so lucky. That's nice. What that helps me with, frankly, is sales. When you say, oh, she's at the Broadcast Hall of Fame, maybe we should get on her show. I don't get any money for sales, but we need sales equipment. Oh, you know how much cameras cost and buying all these things. And everybody else on our show gets a little bit of something, our regular reporters and photographers. Not much. Nobody's getting enough. We don't have any health insurance. Everybody who works on our shows on a consistent basis, they do it because they love it too. So again, I'm lucky to know some people. Like Steve Schweitzer was the chief photographer at Wish TV for 30 years. And he does some stories now too. And what I did is I got him on the air. He does something called Tech Talk. Here he is in his 70s, and he does stuff that kids don't even know. He's doing something on landscaping with AI. It's absolutely amazing. So that's not,
And I also have to mention that, well, it was recently that you won a big Emmy Award. So talk about that.
Yeah, it's called the Silver Circle. And you've spent 25 years or more in the business, and they give you a plaque and a brand new car.
Mhm.
No. Just a plaque. But again, it's nice. Very lucky.
Yeah. Since this is an arts related show, what is you would have a really good view as I think I do, covering the arts for as long as I have, but I see everything and so have you all over town. I want to tell people, remind you may not even remember this in the blur of your career that, when we first met in person, you did a live shot at the Edavine Repertory Theater.
Ah!
I was to the managing director, and
Woo!
I was plugging a show, and you were kind of introducing me to the community. And, I gave you the obligatory T-shirt, and because it's TV, and I had to give you something to hold up with our logo. But anyway, that's when I first met you, and oh my gosh, I remember being so. It was Patty Spitler. Even I had been in the business myself for a while, and yet I was starstruck. And so I remember that so fondly.
And now that you know me, you're not starstruck.
Well, no, in a way I am too.
No, we are survivors. We should be proud of ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And as you pointed out, we're still contributing. We're not just saying, oh, look what I did. No, look what I'm doing.
As long as I can still, as I've had my own health challenges, but once I recover, I'm out there. People would say, where do you get all that energy? You're everywhere.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's just like I'm living my life.
Well, I need that feedback too. So I always tell people I'm still kicking, just not as high.
That's a good one. Well, look, this has been an absolute delight. I'm looking forward to seeing you walk in the hallways at China.
Walking, skipping, dancing.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hang out with you as we usually do when we happen to be in the studio the same day. So it's been one of the delights of my career to become your friend, really. It's really been a neat experience. So anyways.
Very nice. Very nice. Kisses. A virtual kiss. Mwah. Yep.
See you down the road. Bye.
Thank you, Tom.
Our thanks go out to our media sponsor, Urban Times. Urban Times is a monthly news magazine which serves as the official neighborhood newsletter for 16 Indianapolis neighborhoods, offering news about development, arts and entertainment, and from the business community.
Who will take center stage on the podcast next? Your seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez awaits. Follow Tom on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure to visit tomalvarez.studio. Watch Tom every other Thursday on Lifestyle Live on Wish TV, and make sure to listen every week here on the All Indiana Podcast Network.